Hi everyone, welcome to the student tour today of the Bartlett Summer Show. My name is Sharon, architecture student, second year from Unit 13. Today, I'm going to share with you 3 exciting projects from both the undergraduate and master's architecture courses, all from different units. Please feel free to ask any questions using the live chat function below. The title of today's tour is Measured Misalignments. These series of projects are those which celebrate the state of being precisely misaligned and are all set out to transform mundane social settings into unexpected opportunities. They reveal rumination of a measured flaw, liberating us from the grounds of convention, but also interrogates with the confinements of established boundaries. With this, I'm happy to first share with you my project. I'm from undergraduate Unit 13, led by Tamsin and Colin. The architecture program here at the Bartlett is conducted by different studio groups, which each studio unit is guided by different tutors and is unique in their approach and touch towards architecture. My unit, Unit 13, values the spirit of experimentation, and we began the year by looking at how decisions are made and experienced both creatively and culturally. We traveled to Portugal, to Lisbon, and to Porto to understand how a contemporary European culture and society culturally appreciates and approach architectural progression and inherent values of existing decisions, or in this case, building in relation to future ideas. My project explores the theme of fragility against the common notion of architecture as a safe and stable shelter for human habitation. My technical investigation studies how to realize a piece of fragile construct, hinging upon the edge of material and structural integrity. I'm pleased to receive the Victor Kite Award for Design Technology in memory of the architect, Mr. Victor Kite. And I would also like to take this opportunity to thank the Kite family, HMM, and my tech tutors, Oliver and Simon, to make this possible. Located in the heart of Lisbon, this tech startup office is precisely scoped as a fragile workspace that motivates entrepreneurs through evoking their vulnerability. The program is a business of agglomeration, which encourages interconnectivity. This is inspired by the concept of OMA's Seattle Library. This network forms an anti-fragile safety net, where the startups are free to slip out of control invertedly and chase for the delight of the unexpected. Apart from the interactions between the company themselves, the sharing of knowledge between the public and the office workers is also cultivated in the public garden, as the building is suspended mid-air and opens up the landscape for the local community. In the iterative design process, I often start with sketching out my ideas first, then experimenting them through digital modeling on Rhino, and then rendering, like the renders here, which are made with V-Ray on 3ds Max. Besides, the provision of co-working spaces and public spaces are also serves as a mitigation to the city's recovery from the Portuguese financial crisis. This tech startup office studies how our mental state of being fragile motivates us in the startup inside forward. Essentially, how our vulnerabilities makes us stronger. Architecture as an agent of interconnectivity is used to facilitate this concept and promote the space into a site of active socialization. Internally, a fragile experience is created through raw materials of various translucencies that reveals and conceals parts and fragments of the workspaces, as expressed in the section here. Officers cannot see, but are only allowed to feel the inhabitation of neighboring competitors, creating a subtle sense of competition. Moreover, the wall of the event hall is pieced together by rock fragments from land excavation, creating a mesmerizing and flickering light effect when the sun shines through the water ponds on the public garden and through to the gaps of the rocks in the wall. Structurally, the form of the building also communicates the idea of fragility, with heavier materials acting as counterweight for lightweight protruding materials in the front. The system is akin to a crane. I'm particularly interested in how to realize these balance mechanisms, which I first started designing in very draft physical models. Some failed, some were okay, and some succeed. Then these ideas learned from physical making are translated digitally through drawings here. These diagrams help me to figure out the envelope of various spaces, especially when the buildup of a wall is crucial in creating unique lighting and atmosphere of my intent. Our environment has evolved across millennia to a condition that is now safe and comfortable for mankind. I hope that my project to create a fragile office that motivates workers to embrace their own vulnerabilities would not only add new energy to the Lisbon community, but also allows us to reflect upon the role of architecture as a catalyst for societal improvement. Now, let's move on to the next project by Anthony Tai, a third-year graduate from Unit 8. Unit 8 is led by Greg and Farley. Wait a minute for it to load. Unit 8 is interested in prototyping materials, structures, and technologies. The unit is keen on experimenting with innovative architectural strategies rooted in the environmental challenges of our times. Their first project is to devise various inventions in the Asian woodland of film success. The unit deployed a series of experiments designed to capture an environmental phenomenon not readily witnessed. These then informed building projects sited in downtown Chicago. Anthony graduated with first-class honors and is also awarded the Bartlett Medal for his achievements. His project is an internet cafe, sited in Chicago, that is concealed in the skins of the digital glitch. His project focuses on the translation between analog and digital interface and how we perceive our physical world. This concept comes from his initial explorations in the film forest, where he constructed this device that captures the various shifts in the forest, be it wind, light, and habitation. These mirrors in his apparatus unfolds the surrounding landscape and is captured by his camera, which reveals the scene to the viewers here in this drawing. Ultimately, his internet cafe for his building project offered differing interpretations to the pacifier, the street view car, and the satellite. It learns from known glitches of mainstream surveillance practices. In this image, the architecture deconstructs itself digitally using techniques of counter-shading and programmatic disturbance, which offer privacies to the inhabitants inside. Anthony further explores how to develop these spatial camouflage strategies through his technical dissertation. The architecture core structures that there's our main design project and a technical module that allows us to have a more in-depth and detailed technical investigation on how to realize our ideas and embed it into our buildings with various technologies. This is Anthony's plan, which questions how architecture might soon come to be design-driven by the blind spots of surveillance technology. This ties to his site in Chicago, where privacy has been a pillar of contemporary US culture with ever-increasing governmental surveillance. With the hacker culture and issue of national surveillance, Anthony's architecture reintroduces privacy for the hackers in the urban context of Chicago and reinterrogates the traditional ways of inhabiting our cities. Here, Anthony also has a short film exploring how his building manipulates both analog and digital modes of viewing, inducing glitches and dismantling the reality of what we see. So I'll stop speaking for a moment for us to enjoy Anthony's film.
Loud noons of cities, giving back none of the glances they absorb. Light, glossy grey, arms on a plaque, they come to rest at any curb. All streets in time are visited. for a second get it whole, so permanent and blank and true. The fastened doors recede. Poor soul, they whisper at their own distress. And sense the solving emptiness that lies just under all we do. At last begin to loosen. Far from the exchange of love to lie. Unreachable inside a room, the traffic parts to let go by, brings closer what is left to come. And dulls to distance all we are.
Now, let's move on to a master's project from Samuel Davis. His studio, PG16, is led by Matthew and Anna. It focuses on the exploration of an architecture that reemphasizes our physical engagement with and the relationship to our surrounding environments that we choose to inhabit in. Specifically, the unit asks students to consider the experience and the meaning of matter as manifested in the object, material, and ecologies that frames our daily experiences in these environments. Their initial site of inquiry were the vast automated architectural landscape of the California and Arizona. These two places are increasingly being farmed and monitored by complex computational systems. The unit then progressed their ideas with field trip through Southern California and Phoenix, contrasting their observation of modernized and controlled worlds of farming with historical experimental ideas of collective living and working. Sam graduated with a distinction and is awarded the Sir Andrew Taylor's Prize. Sam is also nominated for the AJ Students Prize, and his work is featured on VZine. His project is interested in the influence of the house on our attitudes and anxiety through its mitigation between our body and the environment. It explores thermal comfort and the social and architectural stigmas that surrounds it. The House of Tomorrow has historically been used as a tool for architects to set out aspirational and domestic futures. In reference to the experimental houses of the 1960s, his project, Free Houses of Free Tomorrow, is proposed at the edge of Palm Springs in the surrounding desert. In response to the dominant professional discourse that prioritizes technological and constructional optimism in face of climate change, this project contends that the issue of comfort cannot be isolated as purely a psychological requirement. Rather, it must be considered in relation to its needed culture and social context. The main design process for this project was deconstructing and resembling everyday domestic conditions to align them with different future attitudes to comfort, such as a typical bed, chair, bath, kitchen, as well as domestic plans like the primitive hall, modernist opening plan, etc. Each convention for each was represented in a render. Here, in this render, chromed cold air vessels draw naturally cool air from a subterranean thermal labyrinth. Sam mainly uses V-Ray for Rhino to produce these renders. With these, he was really interested in the idea that visiting these strange houses and their models of comfort with a feeling of inhabiting someone else's dream, or of trespassing on someone else's domestic spaces. In rejection of the monolithic architectural ideals of the 60s, each house captures an alternative attitude to the future. These are the primitivist, the concept skeptic, and the technological optimist, which you can see in the sequence shown here. Within each house, everyday domestic conventions are dismantled and rearranged to suit its individual attitude to comfort in the context of the desert climate. In doing so, it is hoped that the project presents the power of these conventions in determining an understanding of what is comfortable, homely, and safe. All three houses share an architectural language that seeks to foster an emotional relevance around environmental processes. The chair is placed in confrontation with the sun and wind, celebrating the feeling of heat against our common ideals of thermal comfort. In the house of the technological optimist, the occupant sits angled to the sun, while the building does the rocking for him. Like colorful bodies, they take responsibility of the comfort they provide. Sam also enjoyed the idea of how interactions between neighbors were not through designated public spaces, but through glimpses and annoyances at a distance. This image is an attempt to show a dissolving of definite views. The culture of comfort that we become entrenched in does not satisfy our basic bodily requirements, but instead has none of psychological needs to suit cultural and architectural norms driven by technological possibilities. Any attempts to amend the ways we make ourselves comfortable must simultaneously seek to amend our relationship with everyday domestic spaces and objects. I really enjoyed Sam's project, for his critical conclusion to his work was to avoid technological solutions, but instead learn to understand the role of an architect in generating multiple ideas of comfort. So this is the end of my tour today. These three projects, from hinging upon the edge of material and structural integrity, to translating the veracity of the analog and digital glitch, and to displacing everyday furniture to manipulate our concept of comfort, all shown the possibilities of various measured misalignments as per the theme of the tour today. Misalignments being the incorrect arrangement of an object in relation to another, reveals the faults in our judgments, the blemishes in our designs. Yet, it is also these flaws which drives us architects with determination and draws us into unbound imaginations. Thank you very much, and I hope you enjoy my presentation and the rest of the Bartlett Summer Show.